Even begin, I'm already tongue tied. This is gonna be a dope show. That's how you know it's gonna be a dope show. So so without further ado, again, Poetry Corner, host King Soul, special guest tonight, Sché the Poetess. We about to bring her in a minute. Give me a second while I set everything up. Good grief. Peace, Queen.
King, what's good?
I'm good. I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm trying to adjust myself. I was closer than I wanted to be.
It be
What's
like that. Sometimes it just be like that. Sometimes you closer than you think you are.
right? I receive it.
But so I am definitely excited to have you in the Poetry Corner, man. Since I've heard your work, I've enjoyed every bit of it. I love
Yeah.
the amount of growth that you have had over this last few years,
Yeah.
and the things that you are doing is only showing that you're leveling up every time you put pen to paper.
I
So
appreciate that. Oh my goodness.
definitely to have you here in the Poetry Corner.
I
So
appreciate you.
before, oh, I appreciate you as well, Queen. Before we actually get deep into everything, I always want to ask, how has your week been going? How's everything been going for you? How you been feeling?
The week. Let me see. What day is it again? That's how my week's been going. That's life for me right now. I'm just trying to keep up with all the momentum and everything I have going on. So, I mean, it's a blessing though. Like I'm blessed to be able to have the provision to keep moving and to do everything that I want to do. So everything is lovely. Everything is lovely. I'm blessed. I can't complain at all.
Most stuff, most stuff. That's
Mhm.
always good to hear. Um,
Yeah.
so what I like to do at the start of it is this stuck in the elevator segment, which is going to be your brief introduction. So in this stuck in the elevator segment concept, you're stuck in the elevator with a random stranger. You don't,
Hmm.
you never met them, but now you're stuck and you have to introduce yourself because you have to. That's just what we do as poets, as entrepreneurs. That's just what we do.
Right.
I need you to give your name, where you from, and three good things about yourself.
So I'm Sché the Poetess. I'm from Tampa, Florida, and somewhere between ambitious and relentless. And I won't stop until I get this. I'm somewhere between gentle and vicious. We can grow together, create a friendship where I could be all in your wish like a all in your wish like a minister, all in your wish like a dentist. And I won't stop until I get it. Not saying that I'm the realest, but I'm just as raw as the realest. And I'm gonna tell you just what it is. If you're not for me, then you in my way. Retire you like the end of the day. Work you out with no pay. Black Swan, no, this ain't a play. No 2K, no, this ain't a game. I'm just as serious as being delirious, so delusional, like he don't want you, yo, and love is blind, and I ain't got time to be in the middle of some BS. I'm trying to make moves chest. Thankful for every breath blessed. Do it look like I'm stressed? No, I ain't pressed. I got degrees on the wall and common sense in my head. Intelligent woman who values knowledge. No, we ain't dead. We just somewhere between ambitious and relentless, and you somewhere lost with your GPS looking for bad bitches with them inches. And that's me.
I, I, I can say that is a first in the Poetry Corner. That's the first time I ask somebody to introduce themselves and they just pop out straight with a piece. This is how I introduce
I
myself.
mean, I could have gave you, I could have gave you the, well, I'm love and I want to illuminate life and peace and light to everyone, but nah, we don't do that.
Obviously, come in and shut the show down at the beginning. Like that, I guess this interview's over now. He's already done shut the show. He already done stopped it by starting.
No, but that's me.
Definitely dope, man. I love that poem. I already told you that before. Like I love that poem. Like that. I love it. I have no words outside of I love it. It ain't even trying to fluff it up. I love that poem. I
That
love
was
it.
actually one of the first like pieces I put on video. Shout out to Mika White. Yeah, that was like one of my first intros to the world, like outside of church and outside of my family. So it's near and dear to my heart.
Absolutely, definitely. So let's go ahead and get into this interview because you just set the elevator on fire and went out. That's what you do apparently. You just walk in like, hey, I'm this, bam, fire.
Hey.
My first question is, how did you come into poetry? What brought you to poetry?
Mm. Um, I've always been a writer, like since I could probably write, let's say kindergarten, first grade. I was that kid that was bored. I needed something to do. So I would always finish my work early and I would write. That's what I would do. But I didn't realize it was poetry at the time. It was just stories, just stuff that I thought in my head and I put it on paper. And I was way like ahead of my time. Really, like some of the stuff, I was probably in my bag in poetry when I was like a sophomore and junior in high school. Like I was like, who is this little girl? Like, who are you? So, but as far as like spoken word and performing, that didn't come to me until college. So I was in a pageant, Miss Black and Gold pageant, and that was my talent. Like that's what I did. I did a poem, and like it was that energy from the crowd. Like wow, I like how that felt. So then that was the start.
Excellent. So you said you was in your beat, just slid a nice humble brag, and always like brags. Well, we don't talk good enough about ourselves to let people know we dope. So I'm always nice.
Yeah.
And you was like in your bag early. So what were some of your influences early on in your writings that that helped along the way to get to where you are now?
I would say definitely music. Like I come from a musical family. Everyone pretty much sings and has some type of talent. And so my dad is like out of this world. Um, my dad, my aunt, like my family, it's just in my blood. Like I literally was born with the pen. So one of the first songs, like one of my favorite songs of all time, is Whitney Houston, "I Will Always Love You," and it's like the feel, the passion, like that's where I started, and that's where I get a lot of my inspiration from. It's music. So I'm a musical poet.
So, side note, has nothing to do with the interview. Do you have a poem right now where you have vocals on it, or are you working on any poems where you're gonna have vocals on it?
I do. I do. It's been a work in progress. Like I'm I'm a perfectionist. You know what I mean? Like I don't like to put stuff out unless like the quality is A1, unless it's exactly how I envision it in my head. And that's good and bad because sometimes it's just like just put it out. But I actually have an entire project where it's musical. Like it's music. It's me flowing, which, you know, I try to dabble in a little bit.
I see that.
And I can carry a note here and there on a good day. So it's in the works.
All right, all right. So that was a side note. I just want to, because the musical background was like, well, you got to have something with some. You can't.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
want completely outside of that. So with some of your musical influences, how did you use that when it started? Like when you realized, like when did you first realize you were writing poetry, and how did your musical influences help along the way? Did you draw some in, or was it like poetry this, music this?
Um, I would say I sampled like a lot of the stuff that I write. It's a verse and a song. Like I've sampled, I played around um, with the music side, but I think my first, and I'm trying to go back and just dig deep into when I first, like when I first started and how that came about. Mary J. Blige, like Mary is passion all day. Wale is another influence of mine, you know, and he does the poetry. So, you know, his song "The Realest Bit," you know, "Ambitious Girl." Like I have a poem that the poem that I did, "Ambitious Girl," that's sampled from that song from Wale. You know what I mean? So, I got a poem, Jill Scott, "Black Men," and that's sampled from her song. And so I just I cross over between the two all the time.
Okay. So it's like a in sync type process. Like you draw from the musical influence that you have to create the
Right. Like,
other things. I like.
yeah, like I can hear a song and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to write something to that. Yeah. Yeah.
Get it. I definitely get it. I definitely get it. So when was the first time you like considered yourself as being a poet or like a word artist?
I would say probably 2017. So
Okay.
that's when I kind of really started and I was consistent. And so 2017, Soul Cafe. You know, I did a lot of my earlier poetry was in church. And so I just did it in church or like family functions. But Soul Cafe was like my first, shout out to the Soul Cafe. Shout out to the fam. But that was my first time like actually, you know, Sché the Poetess. Like that was my first introduction of myself, like my reveal into the world. 2017.
All right. So with that, I got it's like a two-part question thing, right quick. Um, when was like how were you feeling the first time you ever performed up compared to how you felt once you had that Sché the Poetess moment?
The first time, so listen, every time it's time for me to perform, I'm always trying to find a way out. Like, I don't want to do it. I get so nervous. Like, I literally get so nervous and I'm trying to find any and everything to like, to back out, to cancel. Like, it's terrible. And like, my family will tell you, they have to like talk, like, no, it's going to be okay. Like, no, we're going to do this. Like, no, you good. You know, you're going to do it. And so I literally get sick to my stomach every single time from then and to now. Like I get sick, I'm sweating. I have to be in a room by myself. Like if I'm around other people before I perform, it's just, I can't, I have to be like, it has to be quiet. I got to just be with myself right before I go on. And then when I go on, everything just leaves and it's like, okay, we're here now. Like we're here. So no turning back. You gotta show up. So I get sick every time. Even before this interview, I'm like, oh, it's hot. I'm sweating.
I personally, being a fellow anxiety person, I really understand. I sweat, I shake, like as much as I perform still. And people and like I get off stage and people come up to me and say, "Oh man, that was amazing, that's great." But like it's probably a whole pool of sweat. Like
Right.
I like sweep off the stage on my way off or something. Like it definitely is something that happens. So
I remember I performed and I had my phone. For some reason I decided, okay, I'm gonna take my phone because I never use my phone. I feel like if I don't know it, I just don't know it. But this time I was like, okay, I'm gonna take my phone because I don't want to mess up. I took the phone up there, my hand was shaking so bad. I was like, why did I do this? Oh my God, so embarrassing.
it's those moments though. It's those moments that let you know that this is something you want to do. Because
Yeah.
like you have a moment like that, but you still find yourself back on the stage.
Yeah.
Like we awkwardly live for those moments. Like I
Right.
talking with someone, I believe it was Wally B about when I first started into the poetry, and I was talking to him, and I was like, I kind of want to hear myself bomb on stage. Like I want, for some odd reason, I want somebody to say that I was terrible. Like I want somebody to boo me and stuff like that. Not for just to be mean or anything, but it's like
Yeah.
I want to feel that so I know not to feel that, how not to feel that again. It's like what
Right.
do that led to that moment. So I think sometimes we like gluttons to the situation. Like we put ourselves out, get completely emotionally naked, and just
Right.
hope the best things happen. And
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
everybody can do that.
Yeah. It's not, it's like, and again, like you say, like just being vulnerable and like giving yourself, I feel like it's growth. Like poetry has helped me grow personally in so many ways. And having to be in front of people, or not having to, but choosing to like give yourself and to perform, like it's just, it's all around growth. Like it's helped me in so many different areas in my life outside of poetry.
What's up? What's up?
Yeah.
It gives you that extra oomph to make you
Right.
take on the world. Like if I can do it,
Right.
I can do anything because I know
Right.
not everybody can do this.
Right. Right.
Most definitely, that's dope. What is one of the most memorable moments you had thus far along your poetry journey?
I would say the Rise mural, um, because I can't tell you how many blogs and poetry sites I've, submitted to, like the goal to be published. Like that's, we want to be published, a published poet or whatever. And reject after reject, it's like, oh my goodness. And to get that one yes, and for it to go on a mural in such a historic town. So the Rise mural, it was a project, it was a mural reveal. We basically like beautified a wall in Eatonville, Florida. So that's in Orlando. A lot of history there. We revealed during the Zora Neale Hurston Festival. So, Zora Neale is legendary in herself. And so that was just so dope to be selected as a poet, for my words to be on that wall and to be like immortalized. Like that's the most memorable moment so far.
So,
Yeah.
so how was that process overall? Like how did you reach out, or vice versa, and then
Mm-hmm.
once that did happen, like how did you find yourself in the folds of this historic event happening?
So another one of my good friends, and shout out to everybody that believes in me. Sometimes it takes other people to believe in you and to say, I think you need to do this, because sometimes we don't see all of our potential. Like we don't see it. And so shout out to my friend X. He's a dope producer. He actually tagged me in the post that they were looking for artists and poets. And so I was like, okay, cool, why not? So I just submitted it like I submit all my other submissions or whatever. And I was like, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't think anything of it. The deadline was approaching. I hadn't heard anything. So I reached back out. I followed up. I'm like, I'm just checking to see if y'all made a decision yet. So they're like, not yet. And then like a week later, and it was actually towards the end of the year. So like I kicked off 2020, was that 2020, 2019? We're 2020. So I kicked off my year with that, which was amazing, like with the acceptance. And so that's how I found out about it. The process was, I had to go to Orlando, get in these group workshops with people, the other artists, the calligraphy artists, the muralists. And it was really dope to see. I mean, Orlando has so much art culture there. And just to be around other people and other like-minded people, other poets and stuff. So it was dope.
That sounds dope. Definitely
It was
sounds dope.
dope.
Definitely congratulations on that. Because like you, as you mentioned before, we don't necessarily always see our opportunities. We might see that we don't have something for that opportunity, or just
Right.
opportunity passed by for whatever reason. So definitely congratulations for stepping into it, being accepted, and then following through. Like that's clutch shit.
Yeah, that's definitely like, it's going to go down. I'm going to remember it forever. So shout out to the Rise crew, the Art of Collab. It's a nonprofit in Orlando. So follow them. They're always doing a lot of dope stuff for the community. So I appreciate the opportunity that they gave me.
I've seen personally that you have been like you are you're very active. Like you're very active with other organizations, other communities. I always find like your stuff on like other pages and stuff. Some of these like contacts and networking opportunities that you have, whether before you start doing poetry or as you got into yourself as a poet.
It's definitely as I got into myself. And I always say like poetry is divine. Like it's in me, because I never really have had to do too much or have really had to seek opportunities. Cause like I said, like I'm always trying to back out and figure out a way to not be doing what I do. And so opportunities, they just come. And so it's just truly God given. Like that's the best way I can explain it. And I'm just trying to follow in that will, in his will. And that's really it. Like I try not to do too much. Last year I was like, okay, let me try to get out there. Let me do some of the open mics. Let me do some of the events. Let me try to do a little bit more. I did Apache in Atlanta, which was amazing, because Apache, that's legendary in Atlanta. And so I was like, I got to do Apache. Like, I just got to do it. Like, as a poet, I got to go get on that stage. And they actually were like relocating, and it was like the last show. And so I remember my cousins being with me, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go. I'm just go, because you just go sign up. I'm like, I'm gonna just go up there and do it. And I got up there, and I was terrible. I was terrible. I watched that video now, like, oh my God, like, why were you talking so fast? So yeah, so I just, I kind of move when God says move, really.
Most up, most up. Um, so how is your writing process? Like, how do you come up with your poems, and how are they put down? Are they like phone, paper, whatever I got at the moment? I write on the bottom of a shoe if I got to. Like, how is your writing?
So I've written poems in my car on voice notes, like literally just reciting my poem to my voice note. I do have a journal. I have lots of journals actually, but I fear having those because I've lost a lot of journals, like in moving and stuff like that. And so really right now, my notepad that's my baby. Like my phone, if I lost my phone right now, like I just lose myself really. So, but my process is I can be inspired by anything. I can be, like I said, riding in the car. I could see a billboard and think something. I could hear something on the radio. A song can come on. Like I said, music is one of my major influences, and I go from there. It really starts with a line. It starts with one line, and I kind of think of concept like, okay, do I want to go this way or this way? Do I want to be love, or do I want to be, ratchet? Do I want to talk crap, or do I want to uplift? You know what I mean? It kind of just can go either way depending on how I'm feeling or what I want to give out.
Most up, most up. So, are you the multiple poems at a time poet, or do you try to like focus on one, knock that out, and then move to another one?
I have so many unfinished poems that is crazy. Like I'll start writing something and I'll not like how it's going, and I'll put it down. Like, nah, it's just not, my creative juices aren't flowing right now. Let me just come back to it. And then it can be a month, it could be a year. Like I've written stuff a year ago, and then it clicks all of a sudden. I'm like, yeah, let me go back and let me finish that. So I have a lot of poems that are unfinished, that I want to revise, that I want to take, different ways. So yeah, no, I can't, because I try to be like, the type of poetry that I really enjoy is, I like a lot of wordplay. I like it to not be obvious what I'm talking about at first. And so that takes a lot of effort to like be creative. And yeah, the wordplay really, that's what I try to focus on a lot.
I understand. I understand. It's when you know how you want the thing to sound, you can't just put
Yeah,
out anything. You
right,
cannot, like, a perfectionist aside, you still got to put your name on it, so it's still not, you're not
right.
throw anything out. So I completely understand on that. Like, there's a lot of poems that haven't been released yet because they're like day 3 on the final day process. Like it's all right. That's it. I'm gonna put this line right here, and that's gonna be it. And then tomorrow comes, and I'm like, you know what?
Right.
Maybe I can use another line in here. So like,
Right.
definitely take your time with that. So, who do you generally write for when writing your poems, and what would you like people to take from it?
I write for definitely young women, young Black women, because growing up, like I was lost. Like I was kind of trying to do everything, trying to find who I was, trying to be what I wasn't. You know what I mean? And so now I write for that girl. You know what I mean? Like I didn't grow up in a struggle. I didn't grow up in the hood. Like I didn't have a hard life, but I had a hard time figuring out who I was. And so my writing is for that girl. Like it's for you. Like know who you are. This is who you are. You might not know it now, but like listen to these words. And, you know, it's if I had that type of guidance, you know, at a young age, I feel like I could be a lot farther than I am. And I write for our culture. Like I write for our people. Like I want us to feel good. I want us to shine and just be unapologetically us.
Most up. I love that. I love it. I love poets because they say poetic stuff. Like just regular conversation, just like explaining why we do this. It's poetic. Like it's
Yeah, it
that's the
is.
you write about somebody who does that and before they live. It's like all I'm doing is writing this so you can be better. That's the stuff people write about. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
So I love this. I love poetry. how has like you said, you was a little bit lost, you're trying to find yourself. How much has your poetry helped you find yourself along the way?
Poetry has helped me like really face the fact like, ew, like no, that's not you. That's not how you want to feel. It's helped me to edify myself and present myself in a way that it's like, you know, I can't blow my witness. If I'm out here and I'm speaking self-love and I'm talking about queendom, like I can't be out here acting like a rat. You know what I mean? Like I gotta carry myself in that regard. You know what I mean? So it's helped me to grow. And like I said, it's been an outlet. And you know, in poetry, you can be whoever you want to be. In writing and artistry, period. Like you can be whatever you want to be. And so it's like you write your story. You tell people what you want people to know about you. You tell people your story before anybody else can, and you make it beautiful. You make it sound good. You make people like want to know more about you. And so it's, yeah, poetry has definitely, it's life. Poetry is life. Like, not to be cliche, but it is.
It be like that. It definitely be like that. You expose yourself to yourself when you write.
Yeah.
Because you already can't lie to yourself, but when you put it down and look at it, like it's accountability, right? You putting accountability
Yeah.
on. So if
Yeah.
you're trying to tell the world, look, hold their head up, you can't be looking down. Like that's
Right.
you wrote it. It's there. It's
Exactly.
name on it. So definitely,
Exactly.
definitely. So it may sound cliche, but I mean it's real. Like some of the
Right.
real that we need be some of the most simple answers. Like be patient. It's simple
Hmm.
sound. That is one of like that's the last thing most people want to do. Like stuff is falling down, everything is collapsing, crumbling.
Right.
Thing somebody wants to do is be patient, but something as simple as that leads you somewhere much bigger than wherever standing currently.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely simplifies life is really simple. We just make it tough. We make it hard.
Yep.
So
Yep. We try to do things that we're not in control of anyway, and we end
right.
in the same spot.
Right.
What has been one of the hardest things you had to overcome during the time in poetry?
Being vulnerable.
Ah,
I'll say like Sché is closed off, quiet to herself. Like if it wasn't for poetry, you probably wouldn't see me. Like you probably wouldn't really hear me. And like my poetry, I realized that people want to see emotion. People want to know your story. People want you to interact with them and draw them in, you know, when you're doing a poem. Like you really have to engage with and talk to your crowd. And so definitely vulnerability. I've had to overcome like near tears on stage, you know what I mean? And being okay with that. Um, yeah, that's the biggest thing for me is opening up.
how have you grown in that area uh, during your poetry journey so far? Like how has that part of your life been affected when you get on stage and open up like that?
Um, it's definitely drawn people to me, which I'm definitely like I'm an extra introvert. Like if if I could probably run away from people, I would, but I realized like I have a gift, and not to sound like not, I mean, I am patting myself on the back. I literally have a gift to talk to people and create a space of comfort, and for people to be vulnerable with me, which is a blessing because I mean, we all need each other. You know what I mean? So it's fulfilling when someone comes up to me and is like, I loved your poem. I identify with that. Like that, you just really made me feel good. And that's so rewarding in poetry. And it's like, that's why we do it, really. I mean, it's not likes, you know what I mean? It's not like notoriety. It's really connecting with people and somebody actually saying like, wow, that really helped me. That changed me. That made me feel better about my situation. You know what I mean? Like it's good to see a woman like me, and have gone through some of the same experiences and to hear it. So
I completely agree with you. I don't mind humble brag, so definitely pat yourself because you was dope. If nobody told you today, you are dope.
I appreciate, and you are dope too.
Thank you.
Beyond dope.
I appreciate that. But if anybody knows me, I don't accept compliments well. Not that I not accept compliments. I'm just
it's
really
okay. You're gonna get these compliments.
awkward. So someone's like, "Hey, you great." Okay, thank you.
Right.
It's not what we do it for. We don't do it for the compliments. We don't do it for the acknowledgement. We don't do it for notoriety. So when it comes, it's for me. It's like I guess that's not why.
Right.
Kind of,
I'm glad you liked it.
I accept it. It's just kind of awkward when receiving it, but I do receive it.
Yeah.
But definitely, how has, like, is there any instances you can think of where you questioned prior to a performance how vulnerable you was going to be, and then after the performance somebody walked up to you and kind of like assured you that you were as vulnerable as you were supposed to be?
So I did a show at Drip, which I really miss Drip. Drip is a whole vibe. I did a show at Drip, and it was like my first, let's say, 12-minute set, like first full set. And so I was debating on, because I rap, like I did a song, and I was debating on, okay, do I want to do this song? Do I want to do this? Do I want to? And it literally, like, up until right when I walked on the stage, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And after the show, a girl comes up to me and she was just like, wow, like you made me cry. Like I really felt everything you were saying, like the passion. And I was just like, oh, did I do all of that? Like that was one of my best shows. I don't know if I still have videos on my page, but I had on like the black sheer thing. Like that was one of the best shows that I've ever had, because it was just me comfortable. It was intimate, and I just kind of let it all out.
Yeah. So how long did it take for you to actually get comfortable and be like more vulnerable on stage? Like that you like opened up to like where you are now?
I'm still getting there, to be honest. Like I'm definitely learning engagement. Like that's really big for me right now, is engaging with the crowd, and more than just because we have our scripts, what we kind of want to say, leading up to a poem, like I wrote this in a dark space, or I wrote this after a breakup, or whatever. Like we got that part, but it's like pausing to tap in with the crowd and how y'all feeling, did y'all like that, y'all with me? It's stuff like that I'm still learning how to do, because when I get up there, I'm literally like trying to boom 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 say my poem. I'm trying to get down. But people want you to talk to them, and it feels good to talk to the crowd. So I'm actually learning how to do more of that.
What's up?
That's definitely an area of growth for me, is engaging with my crowd.
So I can attest that last show that we did at Soul Cafe. Shout out Soul Cafe once again.
Yes.
That place, I love the family, man. Y'all always loved me and took care of me. Like I realized that I've done a show every year I've been out at Soul Cafe at least once.
Yeah, because I think that's where I first met you, was at Soul Cafe. I think it was King's Night, actually. It was called King's Night.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
But I say all that to say, definitely I seen you do have a level of comfort when you perform. Because I remember prior to getting up on stage, you was a little jittery. You knew you was gonna do it, but you was a little jittery. But like when you got up there and actually started performing, it flowed perfectly. So is there like a switch that comes on once once you actually get to perform, like you get up there nervous and then you get up there, is there like a switch that kicks on? Because it doesn't show.
It definitely is a switch. Like I have to, if I went up there how I am like seconds before, I'd be a train wreck. Like it would be terrible. People would be like, why are you doing this? So it is a switch. And I don't know if it's like my dad always says, like preparation is key. Like the only time you're really nervous is if you aren't prepared. Like if you're prepared, it's nothing for you to be nervous about. You get over your feelings and you know your poem, you know what you want to say. Yeah. So if you're prepared, do it. And so I think it's just, I go over my stuff over and over again. And when I get up there, and that's the thing with like engagement, because when I get up there, it's so ingrained in my mind, and I remember it, that if it's one thing that distracts me, like I'm off of my flow, and I'm like, ugh. So that's why I want to get better with that. But it's just being prepared and like being confident and saying, all right, I know my stuff, so let's do it.
Most up. I love that answer. When are you at your happiest?
Probably like if it's a 15-minute set, probably at minute 7, because I'm comfortable. I can feel the crowd. I know if y'all feeling me or not. And either way, like, because I've done shows where people just have not felt me like at all, and I like it, and I'm like, okay, so y'all gonna talk while I'm performing? Cool. I'm just gonna talk louder. I'm gonna walk around. I'm gonna come get in your face now. Like I'm gonna like that's how I am. Like I don't care. Now at this point, I don't care. Like I'm gonna do me pretty much. And then, the crowds where people are feeling you and they're like, snapping and yes and stuff like that. Like halfway through, I kind of got a feel for it. Now I'm comfortable and like we're good. And that's where I'm feeling either way, crowd feeling me or not. Like that's when I'm good then. I'm happy.
Good. I can respect that. I can relate to that. Sets the first quarter, like I try to break my sets down in quarter depending on how much time I got. Usually the first quarter is always like a real awkward, real sweaty, real like rambling side of me. But like once I get that first piece out the way, I'm like, all right, we cool. Now get to the show. Like that first part, that was like an introduction to what this show is gonna be at the back end of this thing. So I can definitely do that.
Yeah.
Do you remember what your first do you remember your favorite poem and why? Like, why is that your favorite poem?
My favorite poem is, I call it Black Men, but that's my favorite poem. And it takes me, like, it's my happy place, really. And it's 2 poems in one. So one of them is like a dedication to Black men, and then the second part of that is it's about like being in love and like being in that space of finding that one and you all just loving on each other. And so that's my favorite poem because it just takes me to my happy place.
Most up. That's dope. That is super dope. I had a question completely slipped out of my mind. So what have you learned about yourself while doing your poetry, and what would you like other people to learn or take from your poetry?
Oh, that was the question you had?
No, I lost that question, so we had to keep going because
Okay, so what have I learned about myself through poetry? I've learned that I've learned growth. Like I've learned how to grow. I've learned how to face my fears, and I realized that it, like everything with me, like I said, is I'm a perfectionist, but everything doesn't have to be perfect with poetry. Like people just want like to see that you're genuine, to see that you're a real person. And so I've just learned that I've learned how to sit back and kind of relax and just and be me through poetry and not try to like everything doesn't have to be polished. Like everything, you can mess up. It's okay. Mess up, laugh, keep going. Like it's taught me how to just be real, like to just be me. And people love it regardless. So that's what I've learned about myself is just sometimes it's okay. Like let your hair down and just do you.
Most stuff. Most stuff. See, you was prepared for the question anyway. Why you?
Not really. Listen, I was about to listen. I was gonna send you a message before. I do this to everybody, like when they want to do an interview. Can I get show notes? Like, what are you gonna ask me? I want to be prepared.
When I first started this show, that was one thing I wanted to take away, because I want that genuine reaction. I want you to have to think back because sometimes we get to a point of our journey where we forget some of the like very
Yeah,
small moments, and that's
yeah,
what I want to draw out in the show. Like I want you to think back on your first time and how you felt because now you dope on stage, but at some point you probably didn't feel quite that same energy. So that journey that we want to take about your journey is the whole concept. So I refuse to give you anybody else.
I didn't hit you up. I was like, I'm not gonna be that person. So let me just tap in and get there, get myself to that place.
Again, you are already prepared for the question. Like you didn't know how prepared you was until you started talking. Because that's
Yeah.
like you're doing this genuinely. You're doing it from your heart. So it's not a question you can prepare for that your heart and your genuineness won't already speak up for anyway.
Yeah, and that's why I appreciate stuff like this because I don't personally like to talk about myself at all. Like, no, let's talk about you. What do you have going on? I really love everything you're doing in the poetry community. Like, I love your poems. I remember the first time I talked to you, or first time I heard you, like, you were so dope. Like, that's me. Like,
Yeah.
I want to start interviewing you now.
Why? I share in your extra introvert nature, and that's why this is created. That's why it's created because, like, I don't want to talk about what I'm doing. I show what I'm doing, but
Yeah.
it's your spot right now. I'm just the face that keeps the questions coming.
Yeah. Okay. I receive it. I accept.
Dope poets come to the poetry corner, so you definitely a dope poet because you in the poetry.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Quick question. These questions all the time because that's what the interview is.
I know what you mean.
Do you ever feel pressure to create more content?
Yes. Last year, oh my gosh, like last year I was doing the freestyle Fridays. I was doing like, the skits, the crazy girlfriend part 1, part 2, like all of that. And it was fun, and I'll say it really opened up like doors for me, and it got me out there. But then I got to a point where I was like, no, I don't want to do this. Like I want to do it. I want it to be natural. I want it to be genuine. And I kind of got like writer's block and like a creative block last year at a certain point to where I had to take a step back and just kind of get back to myself. So now like I don't force, if I don't have it, I just don't have anything to write today.
That's
Like
dope.
I don't have it.
That's one thing I push as well. Like you should never feel pressure. Like if you don't have it, you don't have it. Because the worst thing you can do is not have it and still put something out. That's one of the worst.
Right.
People can tell. Like people who follow you, people who support you, people know you can tell. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. And I was doing a lot.
but you got a lot going on now. So I mean, still, you still produce the amount of content you can for the time that you have because you're still doing a lot right now.
Yeah. And now like the difference is now it's not forced. Like I've learned myself. And so everything I do is just it's a part of my everyday life. It's what I'm doing anyway. And so it's not like I got to take time out. I got to stop. I do I am intentional, and I do try to set time aside to really tap in and focus on one thing at a time, because I am doing a lot of stuff. So I have to block off my time and say, you know, for these 2 hours, I'm going to make this flyer. I'm going to do this. I'm going to plan that. And so, but it's just a natural, it's a natural thing for me right now. It's not forced at all.
Yeah, it flows as it's supposed to, which
Yeah.
is exactly how it should be.
Yeah, as it should.
So I'm going to ask you to do a poem because I love to do poems. Um, so before I ask though, I have one more question. What is some of the best advice you have gotten in life?
Best advice. Let me think.
Country.
Trying to think of something that like really resonated with me. I gotta think. I gotta really think about that. Best advice. So this was a saying, and this is from my dad. My dad is full of so much wisdom. You know, he's a pastor, and I kind of grew up in the church, but he's a realist. Like he's not. He's a real pastor. And so we would always have this thing where we say, you know, oppression and depression shall not be a part of my life. And I remember, like, I would recite that as a kid, and anytime I feel myself getting to that point, or things aren't going the way I want them to go, I just say those few words, and I'm like, oppression and depression shall not be a part of my life. Like it shall not live here. Like that is not me. That is not of me. That is not of God. And I'm of God, so shall not be a part of my life. And that's probably because I mean I've had that since I was a little girl, and it's the one thing that I can remember, and it reminds me. It's a reminder, a gentle reminder to like be in light and love.
Most of. So that's definitely the quote of the week. I'm gonna let you know. I'm probably gonna cut that out and put that up somewhere because that's definitely the quote.
Yeah, and it's like relevant. Like you know, oppressed people. Like no, we don't have to live in that. We don't have to remain in that. So yeah, shout out to Pops.
So I'm going. Do you have a poem for us?
Of course, I have a poem.
And then like set the stage right with. So I just want to make
I
sure.
know. I thought like if I got it out the way in the beginning, then we'd be good for the end. But okay, so I'm gonna do two poems, I guess.
You set yourself up for that one. Now, I ain't finna take responsibility for that one.
Right, that's what I get. See, I be doing too much. Okay. Yeah. So I'll do this one. You know, I realize that sometimes we keep it real with people that we probably shouldn't have kept it real with, or we keep it too real with people. So this is overrated. Being real is overrated. In fact, being solid never brought me solace. It only exposed my weakness of loving people more than they love me, and giving too many chances and compromising disguises dressed up as potential. But really ain't none of y'all care if I was breathing in. It's not extreme, it's a fact. I was willing to give you everything, and the problem with that was that your reflection was that of deception and not the protection you promised. So being real was overrated. It never brought me solace. Instead, I had to be the bigger man, but my feminine tendencies couldn't cut the ties. I literally had to die inside. Have you ever smiled but really cried inside? Have you ever laughed but it was taking everything in you to want to stay alive? Have you ever had to move through life numb to the sun and masking your emotions because somebody exposed that your heart was too big but your mind was too small? Yeah, being solid made me weak. It made me see everything that was wrong with me and enable people to use it maliciously. Being real created this being that kept believing that there are good people in the world, but people are ill-intended unless you find some that have some God in them. And even them, you got to be careful, because they'll pray for you and try to tell you what's best for you while judging you and hiding bodies in a closet, but judge me for the obvious, that I'm imperfect. Being real created this being that kept believing that there are good people in the world, but people are ill-intended unless you find some that have some God in them. And even them, you got to be careful, because they'll pray for you and then try to tell you what's best for you while hiding bodies in the closet, but judge me for the obvious, that I'm imperfect. The hardest part about being real is how it feels. I watched you lie to me. I listened to words of love wrapped up in deceit. and delivered to my front door with no receipt. That's overrated. La 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 la.
Got that though, you killed that.
Oh my goodness, yeah. That's what I did at the cafe. I don't know if you remember that when I went blank.
Oh, well, I do. I remember that, but the thing is, like, how it was set up last time, it didn't. You couldn't tell. Like,
you know, when you mess up, you could tell. It's like, yeah. Thank
we
you.
are at times our own biggest enemy, but I mean, it pushes us, but it also hinders us at times. So just finding that balance in being
Yeah.
Yeah. Miko White just hopped in.
Miko. Okay, yeah. Shout out to Miko. Like, Miko is, when I say needing friends around you to help you to grow, he has been that, because, yeah, I was a hot mess. I still am at times, so I really appreciate. Yeah, that's me.
Most stuff. I appreciate you coming into the Poetry Corner.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. But before we get out of here, let the people know they can follow you. If they're not already following you, they're crazy. Let them know what you have going on, and say one real dope thing about yourself.
So you can follow me at Sché the Poetess. I also have a juicing business. So along with poetry, like, I live like a holistic life, like mental health, physical health. All of that is very near and dear to my heart. So I do make juices. So that page is Blends by Sché. And what else do I have going on? I actually have an art page too, and I'm working on content for that. Pre-COVID, I had all of these great ideas that are still going to happen. So follow the poetry page, and it's Pretty Souls, and it's Souls, SOLS. And then one dope thing about me, like, if you see me out in the street, like, say hi. I'm like one of the nicest people that you'll ever meet. And the reason I say that is because I get a lot that I don't feel like approachable, and I don't want to be that way. So if you see me out, say hey. Like, I'm gonna tell you, hey sis, like, hey bro, like, how are you? So that's one dope thing I want people to know about me. I love people.
All right, I'm gonna add the dope thing because I see you got Sché in the backdrop, in the background. Like, that's some real boss level shit right there. Like, I'm taking the meeting with me watching my own back.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah, I actually had this made. It has, like, you know, different pieces. It's pieces of me, literally, like pieces of my poems and like some of my favorite poems. So that's me. Pieces of me.
Dope shit. See, you got dope shit just sitting around you. You in the back watching yourself be great. But thank you again for taking your time out to join the Poetry Corner. I truly appreciate you coming.
Thank you for having me again. Thank you for doing this. Like, shout out to you, like I said, for doing this and allowing us to have this platform. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate artists like you, because it's artists like you that make it so possible. Or I just be standing in front of people for like an hour just talking what comes to my mind.
Right.
I appreciate that.
So you talking to yourself. I hate going live because I'm like, where are all the people? Where are all the people at? Where y'all at?
I wait for everybody to come in, but I definitely want to support everybody who supported me, and you definitely been an artist that's been in my corner that helped me, give me encouragement, push.
Absolutely.
So I definitely want to make sure I get those artists in, so we can all know that we all exist.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I can't wait to hit the stage again. I don't know when it's gonna be, but when it is, y'all will know. But I am ready to, like, get out there because I'm getting kind of rusty.
I can't say no. Yeah, I get it. I want to smooth that out, but I feel the same way.
Yeah.
So I can't just smooth it out. Like, we getting a little rusty on here, but we definitely
we gonna get back, and it's gonna be dope.
Most of Queen. Have a blessed night. Enjoy the rest.
You too. Thank you.